All right, hello everyone. I'm Jake, and I'm sorry I cheated to get in here. I am going to give you guys a pitch. And what I'm going to pitch you on is that you guys are all superheroes. I believe that everyone in this room has superpowers. And whether you know it or not, you have these opportunities to use these powers for good to save the world. But I'm probably getting ahead of myself. So let's start talking about another superhero that I like, Jon Snow. Back in 1854, this guy mapped the cholera outbreak in London. And by visualizing where people were affected by cholera, they were able to find the exact location of a water pump that was infecting the town. They removed the water pump, the infection went away. It was a great example of visualizing data to improve the world. Now fast forward to 2012, we all have these skills to be Jon Snow. We have infinite streams of data at our fingertips, technology that help us analyze, visualize that data. There's this revolutionary time where we can understand about our world just in the comfort of our own homes. And we're an active group. We spend time at visualization contests and hackathons in our spare time. I remember signing up for a blog that was going to show visualizations people had made in their spare time, and I thought, oh my God, how amazing. With our skills, I can't wait to see what cool things would come up. They'll be so world-changing. They'll be so impactful. I got infographics in my email. Now, that's a bit of a straw man, right? There are good things going on out there, but what I'm trying to say is it feels like we could be doing more than just looking at Twitter. And certainly there are good visualizations beyond this, right? Visualizations of census data like this one by Jan Willem Tulp, looking at how the housing crisis was built around census data. And this is great. It's powerful. It's meaningful. But it's missing an audience. Right? Because when Jon Snow made his visualization, people rushed to dismantle that water pump. And when we make visualizations, people rush to retweet us. So let's talk to these guys, nonprofits, people who are trying all the time to do meaningful things, but don't necessarily have all the skills to look at the amazing amounts of data available to them, their own data, open government data. They don't have the skills or the resources to hire data visualization people. So all that potential gets lost. So the question is, can we take the skills of the people who are working with data in their spare time and combine it with people who have lots of data and trying to do meaningful things but don't have the ability to look at it? And that's what we're trying to look at with a group called DataKind, which connects data people with social causes, in the hopes that in bridging these communities, we give data people a chance to have social impact, social organizations a chance to maximize their impact, and we get to live in a better world. So let me show you some examples of what that looks like. The New York Civil Liberties Union was really interested in looking at if the NYPD was using racial discrimination. Awesome question, and they've got good data about it. They have all the stop and frisk data. So it seems like a great situation because they have a good question and good data, so let's just answer it, right? So here's the data. Who can tell me if the NYPD is using racial discrimination? I can't see your hands, I'm assuming they all up. But no, that's exactly the problem, right? These nonprofits can't look at this data and understand it. So they worked with volunteers to build a map instead of the 2010 stop and frisk. And with this map, they were able to see things, right? They could see these hot spots in Spanish Harlem and downtown Brooklyn. And with that, they were able to have a lens into this opaque amount of data so they could start guiding their analysis. DC Action for Children is a group that looks out for the well-being of children in DC. And they said, look, we have all of this data about education, about school performance, about violence, but we don't know how to target needy neighborhoods. These are all spreadsheets to us. How can we do more than just understand these things as numbers? And so volunteers built this visualization that let them mouse over each neighborhood, see the demographics information, and more than allowing DC Action for Kids to find the needy neighborhoods, this is being used as a prototype for kids counts all across the US. That's pretty awesome. And lastly, the United Nations Global Pulse did this awesome global well-being survey where they asked people all around the world to respond by cell phone, how happy are you? It was a great achievement in mobile technology, but it resulted in data that didn't even tell them where people had responded from. So they needed someone to build a visualization for them that showed that the reach spread from India all across the globe and allowed them to see where they had reached different countries. And more than that, they thought this was so important, they brought it to the UN General Assembly to say, this is how we have to think. We need data. We need data visualization. Now, if you're seeing those things and saying, I could do that, you're right, right? Because you guys are superheroes. You have powers that are obvious to you, but are transformative to groups that don't have those data skills. And more than just making them visualizations, we're seeing these organizations change the way they actually think about data. And that's super important. So we're seeing groups actually begin to set aside resources to hire data scientists. There are slides that should be coming, but it doesn't really matter because the point is, oh, there was one before that, but it doesn't really matter. Because what we're saying is that they're changing the way they think about data. And I'm talking about what we see at DataKind, but it's not just us. There's a global movement. There's Stamen. There's Periscopic, Code for America, this new era of data hacktivism, creating this kind of justice league around data and data for good. So I'll leave you with this question. How could you use your superpowers? You know, how could we all as a community come together to build something more than just aesthetics? You know, how could we all as artists and coders and designers come together, and become more than just hackers and actually become heroes? Thank you.